This is the Red Pill Dispensary, and I'll wait for some of you guys to get in here live. And while I wait on that, I'm just gonna so here we are here. So already live. This should be all set. Just have to just gotta post some last minute information here. Let's see. Where do I go? Okay, so good. So live now in the community. So let me make sure I'm good on that. Okay. All right. That'll be part of the show. So how you guys doing? It's the Red Pill at the Red Pill Dispensary. Unfortunately, it looks like a lot of people didn't see my last show. I can see why they censored it, but you know, it was really surprising. They seemed not to censor it. I mean, it's a long show, 5 hours, full of information, beginning to end. So I don't know if you guys want to check that out. It's got a bit of everything. I try to focus mostly on what's going on right now with the Charlie Victor 19er. And we'll be talking a little bit about that, but this is going to be kind of like a mixed bag that we'll be talking about today. So I kind of got it all set up through Twitter. Let me see. It looks like, all right, so okay, people are coming in now. All right, guys, how you doing? All right, so, yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like, if you didn't catch the last show live, then you're just not going to catch it. That's the way it seems, unfortunately. It's too bad. All right, so I got a lot to get into. I want to try to make the show somewhat quick, though. I don't want to go on and on and on for too long, but it's just me home right now, so shouldn't be too much background noise. I just went live from the phone because I can depend on it. So a few things I want to go over. So if you guys heard the update about Naval Air Station Pensacola, which I've been stationed there, or at least down the street at Corey Station, but it's considered a part of NAS Pensacola. So we all know about the shooting that happened there December 6th. And that was that odd week where there was almost like a head fake by, we'll just call this thing 17. And it's like a head fake that week, and I'll never forget it because you could tell that they thought something was coming that week. I mean, this is the same week where you had a shooting, I believe, at another base, and then you also had the Walmart shootings. No, I think it was the Walmart shootings, and then this shooting at Pensacola. Also, I remember something happened in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor. Because I remember it was two places that I've been stationed, which is really odd. I remember reporting it at the time. But what sticks out to me the most? I just got this. So it took the lives of 3 American patriots, and based on the FBI findings. So what really struck me with this is also some stuff did so within 2 weeks. Additional measures of background checks, because what they did was they had some Saudi nationals from their military on our base. Turns out he was talking to Al Qaeda. Now, how did they figure that out? Well, it looks like they're not having. I remember they had the frustration at the time. Apple wouldn't let them unlock the phone. They wouldn't give them the ability to unlock the phone. Sure enough, the story comes out today, and obviously they were able to get into the phone because Apple, with the tracing, they've been letting them obviously unlock at least some data from the phones of the iPhones, whereas before, it was considered secure. So with that, along with the fact that Apple was mentioned by name in that regard, their stock was plummeting at the time when they made this announcement. And it kind of makes sense, you know. People, they don't like that the all of a sudden, actually that was part of the first bill. For some reason that was in that bill. I remember hearing about it, that the encryption data, yeah, that's the government could have access to it. And ever since then, they've been doing the tracing. There's been a lot of other stuff going on where you see certain channels going down, and then also there was a renewal of the Patriot Act. You don't hear people talking about this stuff, and there was actually a strengthening of the Patriot Act where they can look at your search history now. Um, obviously I think that was always something that they could do, but they can just do it openly now, is what I should say. So what I want to show you guys this picture. So I mean, I don't know how many boxes you can check in one picture, but if you guys don't know who this is Stacey Abrams, I believe of Georgia. And right now she's for no other reason than the symbolism, she's my leading pick for VP. And this is the type of crap that goes on when it's pretty obvious somebody made a deal, if you know what I'm saying. They might have sold something very valuable so it wouldn't surprise me if they already said it's going to be a woman. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a woman of color. And when you get into that territory, she's basically would be the leading pick. I mean, I don't think Michelle Obama would be a VP. I think, if anything, they try to switch out last minute. And I still think they're going to try to switch Biden out last minute. But if he does make his VP pick, this will be it. And you look at what she got going on. It's the one eye symbolism. That's the eye of Horus. You get the American flag backwards. You see where she's pointing down there. A slight thing I see. It kind of forms like a triangle, but that's not what I get from that. What I see from that is the as above, so below symbolism. She happens to be, the desk she's sitting at happens to be like a mirror, and it's that as above, so below. That same exact symbolism at the same time with the one eye, the backwards flag, and her skin tone with what she's wearing. They always have the duality of the black and white. Like that's what you'll see, in a lot of like a Masonic. If somebody's a Mason, a lot of times you see like the black and white symbolism, like a black-white mixture. And then there's always a splash of red. Well, I mean, the red's there. I mean, it's the lipstick, though. It's not the flag. It's the lipstick. That's something that is very common with the symbolism. Something I learned a long time ago. And ever since then, it's really stuck out to me. Like the black-white. I'm not talking about skin color. I mean, they use her skin color to create that illusion, but it's always something black and something white with red splashed. So, lots of symbolism for one picture. It really, really makes me think. Just based on that, I feel pretty confident in saying she's either going to be a VP or a high cabinet pick, or something's going on with Georgia. So heads up, Georgia. And this comes just hours ago. I can't believe, of all people, he had the balls to say this. He was just unmasked, as the person who the same day he received that Medal of Freedom. It was the last thing I showed on the last show. Same day he received the Medal of Freedom. Only hours before, he got his request for the unmasking of Flynn. And at that point, it was like the whole cabinet had already done it, along with a bunch of ambassadors and even some agencies that I don't even know exactly what they are. Agencies that have no business and having anything to do with that. You know, if it was just like the intelligence community people, that's one thing. But, you know, it was almost like a show of that you know, it's kind of like a lot of times the reason that they have these secret societies and they do some of this sick stuff is so that they all have dirt on each other equally. And if anyone was to find out about certain things, it wouldn't just be one or two that goes down. They would all go down. So they're all going to protect each other. They all put each other in positions of power. And this is how it goes. You know, I mean, when you think about it, it really does make sense. You want them to have the same invested interest of, you know, getting in the same amount of trouble as the next. And basically everybody who was involved with the unmasking, which if you're not doing it for the right reasons, of course, Flynn didn't have the conversation that ended up getting him in trouble until later. So it was entrapment. That's the whole problem with that, just so you guys know. When he had that problem with Kislik, that was, which makes sense. It's normal for the to be national, I believe NSA director, the to be NSA director, to have that conversation. I don't know why. I think they had to replace Admiral Rogers. Admiral Rogers, he's a true patriot, but I think he had to be replaced just because of some information he brought forward. You know, that seems to be the way they do things. Certain people do their roles and they step aside, they put someone else in, they do a little more something. You know, usually the first guy, it seems to like a deep stater, then a Trump guy, then another Trump guy, and the third Trump guy always, we went through this in the last show, but the third one will always kind of like be the one that does the release, or, you know, while the other ones, their handprints or their fingerprints are all over it. But first, it's almost like they let, whether it be the, you know, the AG when it was Rosenstein, or the, you know, Secretary of State when it was, you know, that business guy, what's his name? Whatever his name was, the Secretary of State, the first one. There's so many examples like that. The DIA director, Coates, he was left in there for a while, and you know, we knew what that meant. We knew that he had to be replaced. We knew what side he was on. He's one of those like never Trumper Republicans, just because they're Republican. There's bad Republicans just like there's bad Democrats, and this is what they have in common, basically, with this woman.
Do some spot audits with the executive branch, because otherwise it doesn't work. So you got to eliminate that compliance, and you make it a mandate, and then you do training.
This is the mayor of Chicago, by the way. All right, so this is the person giving us advice. The mayor of Chicago, really? A U.S. city is literally a war zone with you as mayor. Not saying that she inherited anything great with Obama's legacy from there, and Rahm Emanuel, and, you know, unfortunately, I feel bad for the people of Chicago, and then they get this. Listen to what she says.
Particularly in the city, I'll call them licensing department.
Sorry, the problem with the phone is a few things, and this is one.
They're pledging allegiance to the New World. And then I think you have the Inspector General do some spot audits to make sure that with the executive branch. Because
she's not saying that like saying it in a bad way. Like, oh, you have these people pledging allegiance. That's what she said, pledging allegiance to the New World Order. No, she's saying it like that's a good thing. At first, I heard it wrong. I heard it as if she was kind of like maybe talking about Trump and calling them, you know, it's like accuse them of what you're doing type of thing. We see it all the time. And then we're going to go through a few things. There's some, you know, one thing that this virus has, I can't believe how badly politicized this virus is. I mean, it's unbelievable how health is now, it can be such a robust political debate, but it is. And But one thing it's kind of showed, a lot of people have had some chuckles on here, and I would never, make fun of someone's appearance just for no reason. But if you're the health minister of a country, I, you know,
Let me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
okay, honestly, I hadn't even listened to that. I just saw her, and I was like, "That's the health minister of Belgium." I didn't know that they were gonna play that. Okay, so these are the experts. Now on the left, Pennsylvania Health Director is a transsexual. Again, I'm one of those people. I don't care if that's what somebody's doing. Just don't control my speech. You can't make up words like Z's, or I'm not gonna make up words for you. But I'm overall respectful of people. But that's the health director. That doesn't seem. And then in the middle, we just heard from that's the Chicago mayor. And on the right there, I mean, I couldn't believe it. Someone had sent this to me. You know who you are. And they were like, holy death. I'm like, whoa. It looks like Beetlejuice, right? It looked like Beetlejuice on the right. And that's L.A. A place where I would say, probably the healthiest city in the U.S., where people actually, they eat right, they probably have some protein deficiencies compared to a White Walker here. I mean, it's from Game of Thrones, so there's a lot on her. I mean, whoa. So this is, are we taking advice from those living in the afterlife? So a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about, I just tweeted it quick before I went live. So it might not be exactly in order, but actually I think I did it basically in order. So these are the people, they're shutting down LA for months based on the words of somebody who, I mean, she does not look well. She does not look well. I mean, I hope she's not sick or anything, but and here's by the way, so I wrote, when is the right time? When we elect, you're hoping that we elect some weak leaders again. So with China, now I've put forth some information that would actually support the idea that a lot of what made this virus or the patents involved came from the same people that we're seeing. And I don't think it's by accident that they're putting them front and center. In fact, there's a famous picture I want to show you guys. I think I put it. Oh yeah, actually it is. The picture is on the thumbnail. And 17, he said about that picture. He said, "Notice who's wearing a mask and who's not." Now, wearing the mask, I think we see like Redfield, Birx, and Fauci. And those are the three who've been basically telling us what to, and kind of directing the whole thing with the health. And then those press conferences came to an abrupt end. But not until they became household names. And especially Fauci and Redfield, they have the patents for this stuff, the spike protein, whether it be the glycoprotein 160, that's patented by Redfield. He basically refused to work with any other type of potential vaccine for HIV. Obviously, his patent didn't work either, but it ended up being the precursor to glycoprotein 120. Now we're talking about, when you look at the, we're so used to seeing what the virus looks like under a microscope with the spikes. Well, those spikes, that's the S protein. And SARS-2, which is really what this is, what you would call it, it's 100% replica S protein as HIV. Which is why I worry about people's immune system long term. Does it mean that you'll test? I would, by the way, I always go back, especially these shows where I don't really get to see the comments because the phone is really hard to go to the comments. But someone had said, would you test positive? And my answer is, I don't think so. No, because there's the rest of the makeup of it, the homology of it it's not complete. So I guess not everything would be there to actually infect you in that way. But I don't know. I don't know if it would create some false positives. I mean, for those of you who never heard, I mean, I've been saying this forever, way before the virus. I told you guys this. I had a false positive HIV, and I'll never forget the date, 7/7/07, July 7th, 2007. I'll never forget that. Doctor ended up going to jail for insurance fraud. Not directly related to me, but it made sense afterwards that that's what he was doing. It was like as soon as he found out I was a veteran, all of a sudden, my tests weren't coming back. And yeah, eventually he came back and they sat me down, told me this horrible news, messed with my mental. I thought I had it for literally, like, it took me a couple years to, after being told I don't have it, about 9 months later. So, they really messed with my head with that. And so, it's like I don't like take the stuff lightly, but I don't think health should be politicized. I think it's gross. And here's one of the people that will be pushing so much of the BS, like we showed in the last show, all these like Project Veritas, showing how the media, they set up these like fake situations of testing sites. This is something that Soros, he says, we're now in a revolutionary moment that allows us to achieve the inconceivable. Coded, when a far leftist uses the word revolutionary, the first thing that comes to mind is forceful Marxist uprising. So, and you know what? He's right. And then here's something else that just it honestly made me sick. This is our country now, guys. It's like they're making Americans look as stupid as possible. I mean, look at these people. This is like, I mean, seriously. And this is my problem with it. So, serious symbolism going on here. We talked about that. But watch. I'm going to get into the fires. I'm going to come back to that, and I'm going to come back to that. All right, a couple of real big things. But this is what's been bothering me. Is, you just know when, like, for instance, if you guys didn't see Trump's press conference, we'll touch on it. We'll play the video. He mentioned that he's been taking hydroxychloroquine for weeks now. And he's been taking it with zinc. On the first dose, he did take azithromycin, but I'm pretty sure because I always thought I was allergic to penicillin, at least in the military. Until finally one day I just had antibiotics at the house and took it myself for a cut that was getting infected. Turns out I wasn't allergic. It was just from when I was a baby. They just thought I was. But I had a feeling I wasn't. But anyway, so I'm used to azithromycin because I've had to take that so many times. So I know that's an antibiotic. So there'd be no reason for him to take that unless he was actually sick. But this is the type of stuff that
increase here. So what's happening? This is seeing its highest number of new coronavirus cases and its highest number of deaths just 2 weeks after it officially reopened. Look at the numbers here. According to the Texas Health and Human Services.
So this is about Texas. Texas has been open for about, I think they opened May 1st. So 18, about almost 3 weeks now. So we would start to see around this date. It's like it's just, you could just tell. May 14th, everyone knows to start looking for results. 2 weeks later, so it would be the 14th, 15th, where you would air a story like this. And right away, they want to get ahead of it. Some of these biggest...
The state added 1,448 new cases yesterday. That's the biggest daily increase on record. Texas also saw 58 deaths from coronavirus compared to just 25 the day before. The nation's third largest state is now a case study as the country debates what are acceptable risks as more and more people head back to work. Let's take a look at some of the metrics in Texas. First, from SafeGraph, just this graph of foot traffic. This is when the governor announced he was going to ease. This is when the restrictions were eased in the state of Texas. And you see, April 22nd, you just see since then, foot traffic in Texas up 54%. People are getting out because they're allowed to. Where are they going? 53% jump in hobby and toy stores as people left their house. Family clothing stores saw a spike. Shoe stores, women's clothing stores. Bars, not so much, a little bit up and down. We're told that's mostly people getting ready to reopen those bars because most are not reopened yet. Gift shops, a little bit of traffic too, but hobby stores and clothing seem to get the biggest increase here. So what's happening in Texas on a case perspective as this plays out? Phase 1 reopening back here on May 1st. Salons reopen here. A week later, on May 8th, you're looking at the case count right here, going up at the end, right? You could argue more people are getting about, and that's relatively flat, going up a little bit at the end. So you could say they're handling this right, they're where they began, it's relatively flat. This is part of the big debate. What is an acceptable risk? You watch it play out. Let's take a little look at it here. This is the day they reopened. Curbside retail was first. The state had 862 cases that day. Phase 1 begins, a bit more broad, went up to 1,142 cases. Here we are a week later, May 8th, 1,219 cases. Again, that's a bit of an increase, but let's put it in perspective. This is the debate the entire country is having. What is the acceptable level of risk? May 8th, May 9th, May 10th just come through. At the end, the last several days, number one, all of these days, 1,000 cases or more. A little bit of an increase right here. Does this keep going up? Do people in Texas say this is too risky? Or does it stay relatively flat and people say, that's not great, but we are managing the reopening? That is the big question.
So according to that, that's scary. That is scary. If you are depending on the news, you're not looking at the network, you're just taking the numbers for what they are and as they are presented, that's scary. That seems to show that as Texas has reopened, it's causing the cases to go up in this pattern that we've now become like, we all know the pattern. We all know what it looks like when the cases are on the rise, when they plateau, and when they drop. Now, they tried to have, now the cases plateaued for longer than they should have. In my opinion, they plateaued for longer than they should have in a lot of states, and you see really a lot in like Democratic states. Now, so that alone right there, it seems damning. Until you have a doctor put into perspective, and also, I mean, just based on that, and regurgitate that to everyone else about, you know, a big state that's kind of, you know, Texas, they're going to be one of the first. You know, they're big on their freedoms, as more states should be. Because we really have to think about what's happening to our health staying in. If anything, our immune systems, I'm not a doctor, but I know, just let me present this data. I can read the data. I can do that. So here's 7-day average of new cases. Doesn't look good. Looks bad. Based on the reopening time, it looks bad. But notice how they only talked about new confirmed cases. Didn't talk about deaths, didn't talk about anything else. They tried to make it seem like it was a little bit more to it because he showed where the foot traffic was going. But, you know, they're just trying to further these restrictions. It's going to be so hard for us to get our freedoms back. And it just shows how dishonest the media is. Of course, that's CNN. But here's what they don't show you. Here's the 7-day rolling average. So we just saw the 7-day rolling average of the confirmed cases. When I saw that, I said, that's not good. Without even, the last thing you're thinking of is, well, as people are now coming out and the state's opening up, the number of tests are going way up. So now that there's way more testing, you see, now here's the 7-day average of testing. You see, it's really going up these last few days. And this was as of May 14th where it ended, and it's gone up further. Now, the only reason why some states might not be so, wanting to do so many tests is because of the way they interpret the data. So here, when you take the actual number of positive tests out of all of the testing, here is the actual graph they should be showing you. So here is basically the percentage of positive cases. That up, down, up, down, up, down, that's what you usually expect. That's like regular data. That's what you expect. It's just kind of, it's going to go up and down like that. You're going to see that happens in all graphs where there isn't much change. But what's been happening is as the testing has increased, so basically another graph they could have shown, they should have told the whole story. This is why the media is not trusted. And this is why, not being a doctor, but I'm looking at data, I'm looking at the rest of the data and presenting it. And from what I'm presenting, what it looks like is, and these aren't just tests, these are also, like, I bet you they involve the antibody test as well, because it's just so that'll show you even positive tests of people with no symptoms. So despite all that, we see this very low number where it's gone as high at the beginning. It was at like 0.104, which is 1.5% of the tests were positive. And as the testing increased, the number of positives decreased all the way down to 0.05. So, at that point, we're talking about a half a percentage point. If I'm interpreting that, I'm sorry. All right, so that would actually be 10%. Right? Am I interpreting that correct? 10%, and then it goes down to 5%. Because a 0.1 is, yeah. So, but however it is, that's what the graph should look like, which tells us that the reopening of Texas hasn't caused it's caused an increase of confirmed cases, but only because the testing has gone way up. That's what they should be saying, but they don't tell you the full story. That's why it's so obvious this is being politicized. That's where the outrage is coming from these people, and I don't blame them. Which maybe if Texas had stayed shut down, we'd have seen an even greater drop because there'd be less tests. That's what he means by that. There's an honest debate to be had here, but the only way we have an honest debate is with honest reporting, and that is in short supply. So it is refreshing to see some of these people that scientists and doctors coming out and speaking truth. Although you got to be careful. I've noticed there's a couple doctors out there. You got to be careful. It's like controlled opposition. So I come back to something I said earlier. If the only place you can go to get the positive side of the story is crackpots, let's be honest, he's talking about things like YouTube channels. If that's where you're going, because I'll tell you, Amanda and we were looking at this earlier, and she was like, "This is unbelievable." She goes, "Would you be able to go on TV or even go on your YouTube channel and like lie to people about this type of information and their health for like, $50,000? What about $100,000?" I'm like, no amount of money would I. No amount of money. I mean, this is public health. And you're messing with people's mental health, as they're stuck inside, as they're worrying, as their anxiety increases, as they lose their businesses, lose their jobs. There's a lot to take into consideration. And when you actually look at the actual data past what the media is saying, it starts to tell a different story. This is just data. If the only place you can go to get the part, is crack, then people will gravitate to crackpots. Do better. And this is how it should be. There does need to be an honest debate. And, the better idea, the more truthful idea, if it's an honest debate, the more truthful the idea, that's what's going to win. But instead, you have people walking around regurgitating what they see on the news without knowing the complete story behind what they're presenting you. It's not the first thing that comes to your mind when they say confirmed cases are going up to ask, oh, well, the testing has also, quadrupled. So people are having trouble with this. So let me explain. If a caseload in the state is constant and you test more people, you're going to appear to get more cases. If it's declining and you test a lot more people, same effect. Did Texas make the right policy choice here? I don't know. I was openly skeptical of what Georgia was doing, and in a month or two, the air conditioning capital of the world might look like New York City. So he's actually, he feels a little bit different about what's going on in Georgia, which, by the way, is Stacey Abrams. I mean, that's why I worry about states like my own, Massachusetts. Like I said, there is room for a vigorous, robust, and honest public debate. That is not what CNN is giving here. It has a storyline it wants to write, and by God, it is going to write it. Well said. And it isn't just here. It's Wisconsin and Georgia and Florida twice, and others I've probably forgotten. When he was referring to Florida, the twice, the first one is the whole spring break thing. They presented those numbers as they wanted to as well. Because all those kids ended up getting tested. They ended up tracking down all those spring breakers and testing them. And, I can tell you the numbers are far more than what's listed. If everyone in the U.S. got a test, it almost seems like that's why they want the testing, just to so the numbers keep going up, the fear keeps going up, everyone's still on edge. But what you're going to see is a lower percentage. I mean, if the data is interpreted the way it should be, it should paint a more clear picture for people to truly understand. I seen the same thing in Vegas, so I seen the same thing, and this seems to be a common thing that's happening where they don't tell you that there's 5 times the testing. They just tell you there's more cases. So, you got to be careful. This is something to look out for. And this matters. The stakes on reopening and staying closed are incredibly high, so it's crucial to get a full set of facts out there. For people who do pay attention, it fosters cynicism and distrust of the media and experts at a time we need them. And this is one of the reasons why I think that they're going to be... The Democrats, I think they know, we're on to them. And, it's part of the reason for these mail-in ballots. Because then they can, already we're seeing people getting, 4 different ballots sent to them in 4 different names. It's all kinds of weird stuff, dead people, all kinds of crazy stuff can happen with these ballots. Trump being elected did prove to me that, if there's good oversight, that, our votes actually do count. Even though it's really the delegates, the votes do count. So what to make of this, I say, and this is Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk has been known to troll, but I generally do think that, at this point with his SpaceX, his largest plant being located, I believe, in Alameda County, located in California, he has an invested interest, and now he seems to be going to be more like, people are saying oh, is he going Republican? No, but when especially a super genius, they're definitely not getting it by him. And also he has an invested interest. Let's be honest, he has an invested interest. But he says take the red pill. So Elon Musk, I was talking about him in the last show as well. I was talking about I couldn't believe what he was saying on Joe Rogan, and that's what he was talking about. How you get eaten by a shark. And if you have the virus, then they're gonna say that you died of the virus. You know, it's they're being very liberal with the numbers. And to Dr. Burke's credit, she said as much. She said it in a way. She said we're being liberal with the numbers, where people, you know, might not interpret it correctly, but she did say it. I don't know about this, but I guess Trump's speech, there's something called revert. You take a speech and you put it backwards. For those of you guys haven't seen Pandemic, you know, I do recommend it. But, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Because I don't even, when it comes to the doctors that really have an extremely, it's in their own world type of view, you know, I don't know. She definitely wants payback, but I do find her credible to a point. But the only thing I worry about is she definitely wants payback. Now, this new press secretary, she's amazing. This woman is amazing. It's like they created this beautiful woman, like an artificial intelligence bot that can I mean, she just crushes the media out there. So I found this video extremely entertaining, so I gotta share it. Now, 17 made a mention, and it's from the picture on the thumbnail. Notice who wears the mask and who doesn't. And what's so funny is as soon as these conferences stop, they all take their masks off and get in groups 6 feet. They're not even 1 foot from each other. They're literally in groups as if, you know, it's just so crazy. When the cameras are on and when they think they're off, the difference in these people. And just to show, I think the White House, maybe her directly, you know, she told them, hey, keep one camera on longer. And it seems to be the way that they caught one very outspoken person that we see all the time. I believe she's from one of the newspapers, and she was shown angry after a press conference 2 days ago, taking her mask off and storming out. But yeah, this is a funny video.
Battle mode. Ready. Begin.
Yes. Switching gears for just a moment. Also in his interview with Maria Bartiromo the other day, the president suggested people should be jailed for what he said earlier in the week was a very obvious crime. You're an attorney and the president's spokesperson. Perhaps you could lay out the elements of this crime. What crime was committed and in what way?
I assume you're referring to the Obama administration and the unmasking and...
Obamagate. What is it? What are the elements of that crime?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked because there hasn't been a lot of journalistic curiosity on this front, and I'm very glad that you asked this question. Look, there were a number of questions raised by the actions of the Obama administration. The Steele dossier, funded by the Democratic National Committee, the opposition political party to the president, was used to attain FISA warrants to listen in on conversations of people within the Trump campaign. There was the unmasking the identity of Michael Flynn, and we know that in a January 5th meeting in the Oval Office with President Obama, Sally Yates from the Department of Justice learned about the unmasking, not from the Department of Justice or from the FBI. She learned about it from President Obama and was stunned and could barely process what she was hearing at the time because she was stunned of his knowledge of that. We know that there was a lot of wrongdoing in the case of Michael Flynn. The FBI notes, for instance, that said, should we, quote, get him to lie as they pontificated their strategy. We know that the identity of this 3-decade general was leaked to the press, a criminal leak to the press of his identity in violation of his Fourth Amendment rights. These are very serious questions. They've been ignored by...
And I'll actually interrupt just because, and I'll show you who made this video because I think they deserve credit, and maybe even check. I don't know. I haven't watched any. I want to check out some of their other videos too. So I'll make sure people know who made this video because it's hilarious. I mean, obviously they're good. But you know, they talk about how it was leaked to the press. Everyone believes. Everyone's under the because the first article was written by a certain Washington Post journalist. Well, I can tell you with confidence, I got the inside scoop. The actual person it was first leaked to is Adam Entios. Just so you know. He was the one who got the information. It's just, seems like he shared it with somebody and they wrote it. So, one guy gets the leak, you know, gave another guy the story, and obviously they both make out.
The media for far too long, and I'm very glad that I think that is the second question that I have fielded on Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, because justice does matter. Those questions, they matter.
To be clear, I heard you mention one thing you said was criminal, and that was what?
The one thing that I've said that was criminal, the leaking of his name and the very real questions that have been raised. But if you want to start talking about wrongdoing in the administration, happy to go through Andy McCabe leaking to the Wall Street Journal and then lying about it. Happy to talk about James Clapper lying before Congress, saying the NSA does not monitor phone calls. That was an inaccuracy, to say the least. John Brennan telling Congress that the bogus Steele dossier played no role in the Russia probe, when in fact we know it did and was the basis of attaining FISA warrants. So there's a lot of mistruths there that were said, many of them under oath. So I would point you to those and the many other real questions that I hope you all will pursue.
The president said that those people should be jailed, the people you just mentioned.
I never said that. Those are your words, not mine. But perhaps you should look into it and give me some answers. That is, after all, the job. That is, after all, the job of reporters, to answer the very questions that I've laid out. And I hope you guys will take the time to do it. And I also find it interesting, if we want to start talking about fabrication of crimes, we can litigate that case pretty publicly with James Clapper, who said what President Trump did with Russia, that Watergate paled in comparison. We can talk about Eric Swalwell lying and saying President Trump was working on behalf of the Russians. We can talk about Hakeem Jeffries lying and saying the president was a Russian asset. We can talk about Schiff saying there was ample evidence of collusion in plain sight, when in fact there was not. We can talk about Mark Warner saying there's enormous amounts of evidence of collusion. We can talk about a CNN historian who said there was a smell of treason in the Trump-Russia probe, when in fact, for 3 years, you all talked about collusion, and there was none. And it was a huge injustice, not just to this administration, but to the American people who deserve truth, not the alleging of absolutely false allegations against this president.
I mean, it just seemed like she just, I mean, the more that so that's the Panda Tribune, by the way. I just want to give credit where it's due. That was really something else. It seems like she just had, I mean, he just asked for it. He just kept walking into more and more. So there's just, you know, some funny stuff on here to lighten the mood. So Trump to Camp David, where I think, you know, it's like one of those things. I found that for him. So Trump going to Camp David. Here's that same thing, but I really like that guy's video. Oh, I know what that one is. Wait, what is that? Must see trust. Oh, I know what that is. That's we went over that before. So exactly. So what could go wrong here? Thankfully, people are not as stupid as Speaker Pelosi and Democrats think. Thank you. That's the director of the DIA, Richard Grinnell, for everything. We would appreciate being able to elect our leaders, basic rights, I truly believe, and why I joined the Navy after 9/11. Because this is what, this is the type of stuff that they're pulling now. It's all about the vote by mail. It's like this Hail Mary that they're really trying to get into every bill. They're trying to get a lot into these bills. The last time it didn't work out so well. I don't think what they just voted on Friday is going to work out well at all. A lot of it has nothing to do with the virus. It's so political. It's like a political wish list. You know, they try to make it out, and their supporters actually like eat it up. I'm surprised by that. Like it only takes so much common sense to know these people are lying to you. I mean, a lot of people are waking up, but the people who refuse to, there is an aspect of like, not wanting to admit that you believe BS for 3 years. So here's New Jersey, same thing going on in California, and actually there was a Republican just elected as a representative in California. So they've already flipped one seat in California red, and they're doing themselves no favors in California right now. A lot of people upset, especially with the mayor of LA. So our July 7th primary will be primarily vote by mail. I mean, July 7th, talking 2 months away, and they're already, there's no data to back it up. I mean, yeah, New Jersey was hard hit, but that also means that New Jersey's probably going to have one of the highest rates of immunity as well. You're going to have a lot, because as many confirmed as there are, I don't know what it's going to end up being, but I would argue anywhere from 25 to 50 times as many to have the antibodies, meaning that they were exposed to it and just, asymptomatic. And so, yeah, so it looks like Q pointed them out too. So all unaffiliated, inactive, postage, paid vote by mail ballot application. So instead of, actually, ahead of time registering to vote, that's another kind of dirty political thing. They know that it's true, and I think everyone should vote. You should register, and there's it's not that hard, but they're gonna also be sending things ahead of time where you could just, it's already pre-stamped and you just send it right back. Like, yeah, I want to vote, and you don't have to leave your house to vote. It's gonna usually that type of voting goes left. So this is interesting too. You could hear the panic in Brennan's voice because he'd be one of the ones in the most trouble. But I think that there's some kind of, so here's what I say here. Plea, sending a message, trust Ray. So it seems like he's doing some type of plea or message to Ray, the head of the FBI. And this is you'll hear him go abominable, again. Like, you could just tell.
Wrong in the face of this. I'm just hoping that individuals like Chris Ray, who is a remarkable public servant, will continue to stay strong in the face of this type of abominable, abuse of authority. I'm just hoping that individuals like Chris.
I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it with the loss of concentration. I mean, he could be extremely nervous. Yeah, that could be the case. But guys like this, come on. He was the head of the CIA. These guys, they know how to suppress that nervousness to a point where they're not, repeating the words and having to clear their throat. And it just seems like a purpose. He's sending a message to Ray. Maybe could even be a threat. I didn't consider that at first, and someone had mentioned it. I said, that's a good point. Yeah, most likely, maybe there's something about abominable. Could be an operation. Could be many. Could be. Now that's speculation. I will say that's speculation. But these CIA types, especially the head of the CIA. I mean, I feel comfortable saying that there's more to that statement than nervousness. And what was really odd, and we talked about in the last show, Fauci, Redfield, these same ones, right before their Senate hearing, all of a sudden they, they either got it or were exposed to it, as was Pence, I guess. But I just saw Pence today with the president, so I guess Pence is back. I was wondering, like, Pence was gone for a while. I was wondering what was going on there. Kind of seeing like I wanted to continue. I always get this wrong. What is it? Continuity of government. correct? I believe that's what it is. Like they kept them separate for a reason at that point. Which was going to bring me to another story. What's going on with China? So you look at the picture. Who's wearing the mask? Who's not wearing the mask? There's something to say about that. All right. So here's the video. By the way, I did. I couldn't believe it. It was like it seemed like according to the numbers, only like it was only watched like 6 times after being done live. Which makes no sense. So maybe they buried it and people, because a couple of people texted me like, I had no idea that you had a video. That's why I just looked. So we went over some of that stuff. So all right, so I'm gonna revisit some things that I want to go over real quick here. For instance, and these relate to so we'll go over this one first. So this is this one. I think that this could be potentially really bad news. Where's the story? That's weird. Oh, okay. Chinese ambassador is found dead at home in Israel. Now, the reason I bring this up like this is also because who just returned from Israel? Just checking you guys out. How you guys doing? All right, so who just returned from Israel? Yep, Secretary of State. The Secretary of State had just returned from Israel. So when this had happened, like literally, he was either just leaving, talking about Pompeo. And then we also know that another White House, oh no, I'm sorry. So there was a White House staff, but then also there was an Inspector General holdover from Obama, as he's the 4th Inspector General that's been fired. And they make it seem unprecedented, but this is what happens. You know, new administration, the Inspector General is there to keep checks and balances. You know, you can see it being a huge conflict of interest when you have Inspector Generals, you know, looking at people going after Obama. In this case, I guess he was going after Pompeo because he had a Secret Service, from what I understand, like something like a Secret Service agent or someone, you know, like someone from the Department of State, you know, low rank at the Department of State that was on the trip with him to Israel. Supposedly what it was about was just that, you know, while Pompeo is in Israel of all places, so obviously whatever he was doing there, I bet you it was extremely important one way or the other. Sounds like it might have even been some crazy stuff going on there. But while I was over there, they say that he had this one particular low-ranking Secret Service type, although he was described as a employee of the state, and the IG was looking into it. You know, that he was doing his dishes and walking his dog. And Trump even said to the reporter who asked the question today, like, you know how ridiculous that sounds to the rest of the world that you guys are actually like bringing that to me, like wasting my time. Like I'm sitting here with the like top restaurant owners in the country, and you're really bringing up an Inspector General who's investigating Pompeo while he was in Israel, while he's on phone calls with, you know, President Xi of China, and you know, he's given some examples of who he could have been on the phone with, what kind of meetings he might have been having via teleconference. And this guy is doing the dishes and taking the dog out, and you know, like it's like a misuse of a state employee, which I don't think so. I mean, if you're doing simple things that, you know, Pompeo doesn't have to go out and I think the reason is pretty. I don't think Pompeo should have been walking any dogs in Israel um, when this had gone on. You know what I mean? It sounds like something went on over there. I don't know what. I don't know what it means. I don't know what the relation is. It, maybe this guy wasn't just some regular state guy. Maybe there's a little bit more to him. Maybe he wasn't just walking dogs. I don't know. But I just know that this happened to happen while Pompeo, that they found this guy dead when he was just on his way or just got home. That seemed to be the timeline. So an embassy worker found the body of Du Wei, 57, in his bed in a coastal suburb north of Tel Aviv, Israeli officials said. And by the way, the Chinese, China and Israel have been getting kind of real close. And like Israel's main port has, China's invested a lot of money into it. They do a lot of trade. They've been getting a little bit too close. And the president actually, I think Pompeo actually stepped in to stop a particular deal going on between them two. And Israel did stop it. And, they didn't like it. So they stopped a particular deal. I know that. But it does show, you got to be careful. We do a lot for that for Israel. So it's kind of like a slap in the face. The Chinese government in preliminary findings attributed his death to unspecified health problems. 57, not old. So May 17th, yesterday, this was written. China's ambassador to Israel, who took up his post in February, was found dead at his home on Sunday morning in a coastal suburb north of Tel Aviv. Officials Wei was found in his bed in Herzliya by an embassy worker, officials said. The Israeli police found no reason to suspect foul play in the death of Mr. Du, 57 officials said. And in preliminary findings, the Chinese government attributed his death to unspecified health problems. Investigators, including Chen Kugel, the head of Israel's National Center of Forensic Medicine, declined to comment as they left the ambassador's residence. Mr. Du's wife and son were not in Israel at the time, according to Israel's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Du arrived in Israel on February 15th and quarantined for 2 weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic before meeting officials of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs on March 3rd. Maybe it was because, it could be another thing. Maybe just, China could have something to do with it because he didn't get this particular deal done yet. But, it's enough to point out. I'm not drawing conclusions, just reporting it. He sent his credentials to President Reuven Rivlin on March 23rd rather than formally presenting them himself because of restrictions on face-to-face meetings, officials said. Mr. Du had served in China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs for more than 30 years, according to a biography on the Chinese embassy's website. And check this out. His first ambassadorship was to Ukraine from 2016 to 2019. Ukraine is a very corrupt place. I just feel like if you're the ambassador to Ukraine for China or the U.S., it's an important person that's, So his stint in Israel put Mr. Du in the middle of an increasingly tense dynamic that is creating friction between Israel and the United States. China has been investing heavily in Israel in recent years, taking stakes in hundreds of technological startups and acquiring a controlling interest in the dairy food processing company Tenuva. But Israel has antagonized Washington by allowing Chinese companies to make major infrastructure investments in recent years, including in sensitive locations. A company majority owned by the Chinese government has signed a 25-year lease to run Israel's commercial seaport in Haifa, a frequent port of call for the United States Navy, beginning in 2021. And near Israel's Palmachim Air Force Base, a Hong Kong-based company, Hutchinson Water International, is a finalist to build the desalination plant that Israel says will be the largest in the world. Trump administration officials repeatedly warned Israeli officials that intelligence sharing between the two close allies could be impaired or compromised over such investments by China. In April, Mr. Du gave a written review to the Israeli newspaper Makor Rishon, in which he insisted that China was a responsible, rule-abiding, and trustworthy country. The investment from China has no geopolitical agenda. Oh yeah, not at all. No political strings, and poses no threat to Israel's national security, he wrote on SBS. Mr. Du also compared the demonization of China over its handling of the coronavirus pandemic to the historic mistreatment of Jews. It is scapegoating, he told the newspaper. In history, as happened many times when the causes of diseases were wrongfully blamed on a specific group of people, which is despicable and should be condemned. The disease is the enemy of all mankind, and the world must fight it together. The subject came up again during Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's visit to Israel last week, when he repeated his accusation that China has withheld information that could have helped other countries save lives during the pandemic. And China definitely did that stuff. I mean, there's no denying that, because I remember it. I was covering it at the time. And they allowed the, flights to go all over the world, but not to the rest of China, out of Wuhan. They did buy up a bunch of PPE. They make most of the N95 masks. So they bought up all the medical gear. And then a lot of this stuff that China's been selling as of late, like for instance, I think France and Canada, certain countries like that bought some, ended up getting faulty equipment. So there's some shady stuff for sure. When they say that our cabinet was like dry, as far as being ready for this pandemic, it was true. It seemed like a setup. The Chinese, and when I say that, I don't mean just by the Chinese. I also mean by like the deep state. The Chinese embassy spokesman responded with an op-ed article in the Jerusalem Post in which he called Mr. Pompeo's remarks absurd and repeated the comparison to anti-Semitism. So this is the guy who just died who said that. History shows that the pandemic is accompanied by conspiracies and the dark mentality of seeking scapegoats, the spokesman Wang Yongjun wrote. Jewish friends know it well. So yeah, so that happened. While Pompeo had just left on an accident, a green light turned yellow. Pompeo's visit to Israel signals. Took pains to avoid public address, and he seemed to caution Israel's leadership against moving too quickly to annex occupied territory. So Israel seems to want to expand their territory to, I think it's the Golan Heights, I believe. And it seems like Pompeo's trying to slow them down. And I guess this is, all of a sudden you see Israel making more deals with China because of it. So yeah, they basically have, so Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gantz, like they're both, it's really weird, their political system over there. So it's like basically one had a seat to the other, but they're both kind of in a position of power. Those are the two people running against each other. So not good there. And I just want to show this story as well. It kind of goes with it. I have another story on it. Where's my other story on that? I got another story on that. Oh yeah, you guys see the new space flag? Okay. You know what? Maybe, what was I? So a lot of crazy stuff here. Funny stuff, crazy stuff. Oh, so this is what I was, yeah. So this is what Chinese is saying. The Chinese is saying lately, and it seems like they're getting a lot of it. The stuff that you hear on YouTube, and the thing is, a lot of it's true. A lot did go on at Fort Detrick. The patents go back to Fauci, Redfield. I mean, but I truly believe that there might have been some cooperation with the deep state, but it seems like something went on with these war games. For those of you who don't know, I reported in the last show. Interestingly enough, as Cotton is pointing out, that from mid-October till the end of October, there was no cell phone signals at all, meaning nobody had gone to or from the virology lab, like they were shut down. Meaning that, it seems like they were trying to cover up or contain some type of leak. Well, that's the same exact time as the war games were going on. It's like basically like the Olympics for military, which the United States did not do well. It doesn't really seem like we really care about that. Whereas, China did the best. It's like the Olympics, but for people in the military. And it seems like a lot of, people came back infected because they're in such great shape. Maybe a lot of them didn't know they were infected. And at least it appeared that a lot of our military, especially on ships, were getting infected. In particular, there's one ship, aircraft carrier, that stopped at Vietnam during this whole thing, well after October. That captain ended up being stripped of being the commanding officer of that ship. It is too early to undergo an investigation into the origin and spread of the coronavirus pandemic, a spokesman for China's foreign minister said Monday. Most experts throughout the world said the virus outbreak has not ebbed to the point of justifying a wide-scale investigation, spokesman. So basically, they're trying to downplay investigating. So it seems like they don't want to be investigated. When asked, like, are you going to investigate the U.S., they're just saying, no, now's not the time. That if they had anything real solid, now would be the time. They'd already, because they're already, they've already made some accusations, but as far as like an actual investigation, I just don't think they have their ducks in a row. His pushback comes as world leaders demand a probe to avoid future pandemics. Li Jian, a Chinese politician, suggested on Twitter that the U.S. Army introduced coronavirus into Wuhan. So that's where they're going with that. Zhao also falsely in March 12 tweet that Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield was arrested before floating to his 317,000. So he was saying that Robert Redfield was arrested. I don't know. When was this? Because you know what? It was really weird. March 12th. Okay. If it was at a later date, like when all of a sudden supposedly Redfield and Fauci were and of course, a lot of this Tedros, the relationship's gone sour with the WHO and the U.S. When did patient zero appear in the United States? How many people are infected? What is the name of the hospital? He said in the tweet, it may be that the U.S. military brought the epidemic to Wuhan. So they're trying to use the Wuhan games as a way of that's when it was brought from the U.S. And the thing is we have a government, and then we have a shadow government, and it's basically like the ex-president's running the shadow government. That's at least how it seems. All right, there's some other stuff I want to get into real quick. Very interesting stuff. Like there was some who put out, I forget which publication put out that we would lose that we would lose a war in the Pacific. I'm sure I'll get it with that. Yeah, why would DOD broadcast such a statement? So this is Department of Defense. U.S. would lose a war with China fought in the Pacific, sources warn. That is kind of crazy. So what is this? Daily Mail, for what that's worth. I've used them in the past, so we'll go with it. U.S. will lose a war with China fought in the Pacific, is unable to defend Taiwan from an invasion, and there are fears the Guam military base is at risk now. Well, I know there was a point where we had pulled back the B-2 bombers, but I think that was like, when the North Korean, Kim Jong-un was missing. There was some other stuff going on. I don't know, because they've basically always had B-2 bombers on the runway. So I don't know if they're back yet. But I know that for a little bit they did pull them back because they were kind of concerned about the absence of Kim Jong-un. Eye-opening Pentagon war games reveal the U.S. is vulnerable to China, and an attack on the superpower would lead to the U.S. suffering capital losses. U.S. defense sources told the Times that it's almost like, some of these publications, it's like they forget, they get so politicized that it's like, they're getting to the point of saying that we'd lose a war to China. It's like their families live in this country. But then again, some of these people are such globalists, they're like dual citizens, lots of them. U.S. defense sources told the Times that one Pentagon simulation based on the year 2030 resulted in the U.S. being overwhelmed, based on the year 2030, being overwhelmed by a nation's force, every U.S. base in the Indo-Pacific Command region. I don't even like even putting this information out. This is total BS. There's no way we would lose right now in the Pacific. There's no way. I don't see it. Every U.S. base in the Pacific Command region. China, they're like there's so much fakery to what they do. There's no way. But it does look like it's going that way, doesn't it? The more and more I hear the president, it almost seems that that's where it's going. Taiwan is the most volatile issue between the two nations. A source of the Pentagon's developing more hypersonic weapons and arming marine units along China's seas with anti-ship missiles in preparation. Like Trump, when they unveiled the Space Force flag, he went out of his way to say it was certain missiles 17 times faster than its predecessor. The worrying analysis is expected to come to light in the Pentagon's 2020 China military power report this summer. Tensions between the U.S. and China have escalated in recent months as the coronavirus pandemic has ravaged the globe. The U.S. would lose a war with China far in the Pacific, is unable to defend Taiwan. Okay, so Taiwan, that's one thing. To lose a war, though? From invasion, and fears the Guam military base is at risk now. It's because I know what they're saying this because of when they pulled the B-2 bombers back. That had more to do with North Korea, the leader disappearing at the same time as them firing off a bunch of short-range missiles. U.S. defense sources have warned. I'd like to know who these sources. It's true. Certain things that Trump says, it's very true. When they just say sources, it means nobody. They're just making it up. Eye-opening Pentagon war games have revealed growing fears the U.S. is vulnerable to threats from China, that any attack would lead to U.S. suffering capital losses, sources said. So, the worrying analysis is expected to come to light in the Pentagon's 2020 China military report this summer. The stark warning comes as tensions continue to mount between the two nations after U.S. President Donald Trump has blasted China's handling of the coronavirus epidemic and repeatedly suggested the nation lied about the extent of its crisis. It's almost like, it just seems like go against Trump at any cost. The USS Ronald Reagan, the U.S. would lose a war with, just our Navy alone. That's what's the most preposterous about this, is that they're saying that we lose in the Pacific. Navy is what truly separates us as far as, our Navy is so much more powerful. Now, yeah, there was a P-8, a Navy P-8 that just did a mission over the weekend when Trump was at Camp David, and I was on high alert at the time. But a P-8 Poseidon recently visited them. Oh, so anyways, this is it. The P-8 Poseidon, it flew over to China. So 2 days ago, I didn't hear about this. Reports said that the U.S. Navy has sent its P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft on the VP-26 Tridents, as well as 4 warships to the region for possible encounter with the group of Iranian supertankers moving fuel to Venezuela. Interesting. I didn't hear about that. Oh yeah, so here's the 3-time U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon currently active over Japan. Well, it ended up going up to the South China Sea, where there's this Chinese naval base. What is the Navy P-8 doing? So, oh, this is in the U.S. So they've been active lately, patrolling off the coast of Syria. So it wasn't just China. Wow, they had the P-8s going all over the place, Venezuela to Syria, around the U.S. But I know for sure one was out by, this might be it. Cypher. Oh, is that Cyprus? I actually did I wanted to do a whole show on Cyprus. The strategic advantage of Cyprus is one of the most like understated things. Cyprus is super important. The island of Cyprus, if that's what it was. But yeah, but it's not, it seems like all the stuff about China is wiped away, though. Yeah, so Beirut, you see it's right by Iran. Beirut. Just looking at some of these movements. It's public information. Lebanon and Syria coastline. Even though I know it was just over there, and it took pictures of a Chinese Navy base that's supposedly trying to pump out some aircraft carriers. Oh, here we go. This is the one. This is it. U.S. Navy's P-8 anti-submarine and surveillance aircraft was seen taking sorties over highly contested South China Sea and also Taiwan. Lately, U.S. establishment has increased its patrol in the region as tension between Beijing and Washington touched a new low. So you look at how it went right over to the Hainan province. That's where they have this is this contested area down here. And right over where they're building carriers, supposedly, these super carriers, and then flew out back to the ocean. So that is really interesting. That's what I was looking for. But apparently they've been busy everywhere. I spelled Pacific wrong, maybe that's why. And then, let me see. Okay, so a couple other stories I want to go over real quick. We did the funny stuff all at the beginning. We went over Soros, these ridiculous people. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Isn't that crazy? So, as above, so below, with the reflection. Eye of Horus, the one eye symbolism. Backwards American flag. And then the black-white duality with the red splash. There's always like a little bit of red with the black and white duality, representing duality. You know, good, evil duality. It looks like somebody's doing some type of that's like some spiritual crap going on there. I wouldn't be surprised she ends up getting a certain position. She looks bad. Where's my other story? Oh yeah, of course. So these fires. So 2 weeks ago, we had one up in Madison, Wisconsin, I believe. And then we first LA, now New York City. So we had that one in LA that hurt. At first it was put as 10. Last I heard it was 12 firefighters, 2 in like critical condition. were hurt in that LA blast, where there seemed to be a secondary blast. And also, I was going over earlier, and I'll get just a little something. The guy who owns where it was, even though it was described as all these smoke shops and, like cannabis type stores, it was really like these like knockoff Korean sporting goods slash talent agencies, which, some of these talent agencies, especially when they focus on people from overseas, in this case, it seemed to be Korean. At first, I thought it was Chinese, but turned out it was a Korean, and he had owned the place. And it makes me think when you hear about these talent agencies, people want to be famous. It's a perfect way to bait people in, and unfortunately, especially coming from other countries, they end up getting trafficked over here and used for the wrong reasons. So there was a fire there. Then there was one in New York City. And I'll show you some. This guy did a good job of covering it right here, this guy here. So I'll show you some of what came of that. So an anon find, an NYPD helo circling the area of Harlem very slowly, only at 2 knots. So this helo just kept circling. Now helos are used to dump water on fires all the time, but this one seemed to be really circling slowly. And when you take the location of William Jefferson Clinton's office, and I know that the Clinton Foundation's out of Harlem as well, and that's where that location is. It almost seems like they were circling his office. Look at that. So I found that interesting. And then there was also a fire. So we had one on Saturday. We had LA, and then on Sunday we had the one in New York City. 2 weeks ago, Wisconsin, but also yesterday, the one less heard of was the Texas. Oh, this was also 2 days ago. So it was either like Saturday night into Sunday morning, something like that. So it looks like a building or apartment. So they ended up being mostly abandoned. But this was on what was it called? I was looking it all up too. I can't even think of it right now. Wait, if you had to live in just one. So Florida, Texas. So what was the name of the place though? I had all the information up before. I just figured it would just say it. It's something like it's like an island where they have these condos. Some shady stuff is going on these islands too. What is it? And a lot of experts, like firemen, who have been commenting about South Padre Island in Texas. So all of these fires, the one thing that they definitely have in common is they're burning it bright red, which seems to indicate some type of butane accelerant at the very least. Definitely some type of accelerant going on. So over the weekend, we had all these fires going on. So these three, just within like not even 24 hours, like a 18-hour period, you had LA, New York City, Texas, or LA, Texas, New York City, in that order maybe. But it's really really interesting. Let me see if anything. Let me just make sure nothing is trending that I need to touch on. Oh, and then Trump was also, this became politicized as well. Trump was also talking about how he's taking hydroxychloroquine with zinc. And, he can basically decide what they're going to be talking about. in the media. So of course, right when he said that, see, here it is. As soon as he says that, of course, they started all going crazy. You shouldn't be giving health advice.
Tremendously positive news on the hydroxy. And I say, hey, you know the expression I've used, John? What do you have to lose? Okay, what do you have to lose? So I have been taking it for about a week and a half.
Every day?
I mean, this is proof of what really they say moved the market today. Although I heard it predicted by all kinds of people, predicted, if you want to put money in the market, put it in now. They were saying that over the weekend. Then again, this guy has a doctorate in biology, so maybe he knew about this medicine was going to be released. The Madura medication. They're saying that was the
at some point
bump
every
in the
day.
market.
I take a pill every day. At some
We're at remdesivir. There was like a remdesivir's out there, and then this new one, Madura. I know Maduro is also the Venezuelan socialist president, but yeah, it was named something like that. Maduro. I think it's Maduro. But he's still pushing the hydroxychloroquine. And every time I hear a doctor where the doctor doesn't have like an invested interest in, some pharmaceutical company.
point I'll stop.
You end
What
up
I'd like
looking
to do
into
is
the
I'd like-
doctor and find out that they're being paid by big pharma, who has all kinds of money, and
Like to have
this is like a race for money. And one thing about hydroxychloroquine is it's a very, very extremely cheap drug, very cheap. Been around 40 years, treating malaria and lupus. They was first like kind of realized, I don't know if it was World War I or World War II. I would think World War II makes more sense because they were in the North African region, but like British forces were using it. They figured out that a certain plant, if they ate it, they wouldn't get
The cure and or the vaccine.
dysentery and malaria, and they ended up bringing it home and growing.
But I
fields
get a
of it.
lot of tremendously positive news on the hydroxy, and I say, hey, you know the expression I've used, John? What do you have to lose? Okay, what do you have to lose? So I have been taking it for about a week and a half.
Every day?
At some
Losing their
point,
minds
every
over
day.
this.
I take a pill every day. At some point, I'll stop. What I'd like to do is I'd like to have the cure and or the vaccine, and that'll happen, I think, very soon.
You had no symptoms, sir?
Zero symptoms. No, I haven't had any. No, I test every couple of days. They want to test me, for obvious reasons. I mean, I am the president, so they want to test me. I don't want to be tested, but they want to test me. So every couple of days I get tested, and I've shown always negative, right? Negative. Is that the term you use for this, right? Negative. Totally negative. No symptoms, no nothing. But no, I take it because I think I hear very good things. Again, you have to go to frontline workers. Many frontline workers take it, and they seem to be doing very well.
So I found that interesting as well. That was definitely interesting. Oh, I remember what the one last thing I wanted. I just received a donation from Sig. Oh, thank you, Sig. I appreciate it. I'll have to check it out after, but thank you, Sig. I don't know how much, but thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that. And I've noticed you on the channel when I was watching the last show. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. Yeah, they're going to be losing their mind over this. Because it's such a cheap drug, People are trying to make money off a tragedy. Of course. I mean, this is the U.S. There's nothing that people aren't going to... Yeah, so they're going to make this all about, how dare he. But obviously he knows something, He's privy to some information that we're not. And he's just trying to let people know. Oh, and here's another thing too. So, I didn't like seeing this. CNN was definitely happy to put this out. So, I heard him say this live too. So he doesn't expect review of Russia probe will lead to a criminal investigation of Obama and Biden. So he says, the way he said it was at any capacity. He does not see, criminal charges being brought against either of them, whatever capacity they were involved in this. So, I mean, it's kind of early to say that. He definitely knows a lot more than we would, let's say, but there's so much more yet to come out. I just find that very interesting. I'm just going to take a quick look here. So we do have some new, just what I was talking about. So, what is this here? So we have this, like a special ops operator here. On his hand is the names of the Navy SEALs as well as the ambassador, Stevens. And it says, never forget, worth remembering, think chess. Do you attack the king in the beginning or middle to end? Queen protects king. Now, queen, people took it as a literal queen. Like, who would be the queen? The king, obviously, would be like Obama, right? Now, queen, does that mean, just like Biden? I don't think so. Does it mean the literal queen? I don't think. Does it mean Hillary? Maybe. I was starting to think, especially with what came out along with this news, that it might actually kind of be like a poke at Lindsey Graham, because he refused to subpoena. He refused to subpoena Barack Obama, and it seemed to come out along with that news. And the rumors about Lindsey Graham and the fact they refused to subpoena him, and we know that he's going to be replaced by Grassley, he's in the finance committee right now, whereas Graham's taken over as the chairman of the judiciary. It seemed like they moved Grassley out because the Kavanaugh hearings was such a mess, but time looks back on those, and the Kavanaugh hearings actually ended up kind of showing people that there was this concerted effort to bring him down by the Democrats. So let's see this. So I have today, bar, FISA equals start. So what is this Twitter status? Pensacola News Conference Q&A with Barr asked to President Obama and VP Biden whatever their level of involvement based on the information. So, I mean, it looks like Q was trying to play us down. I don't like it. Because why? I don't know. Based on the information I have today, I don't expect Mr. Durham, and I've been telling you guys, Durham, he's going to be the prosecutor. He's the one investigating it. It would be the one bringing charges. I don't expect Mr. Durham's work will lead to a criminal investigation of either man. Our concern is focused on others. So maybe he's trying to get Obama to relax and Biden to relax. I mean, Obama had made this, right away, Obama this weekend all of a sudden was in plain sight. And this is the last thing I'm going to bring up, but I think that there's more being said by this. There's more going on here. This is another one of those with a message, clearly, to me. Did I spell that? Yeah, it's with an S, not a Z. Sorry about that. You got Nunez, so he wouldn't be the chair because it's the House, but he would be the actually Adam Schiff's the chair, right? But how do I get Devin Nunez in particular? So I want to show you something that Devin Nunez put out. So these foxes, he keeps on reporting. So baby fox spotted today, and he keeps putting these things out on Instagram. It's actually not on Twitter. So baby fox spotted today, and then another one says black fox spotted today, and then another one says gray fox spotted today, and there's 3 different ones. There's 3 different times where he says that he, fox. So it's a, fox is gonna. I'm talking about a literal fox. So you guys saw baby fox. I know he says black fox. Who knows what else will come up. Come on. Does it have to be in the same order? I just think that this is talking about more than just that. I don't think his Instagram, he's just keeping track of foxes. I mean, it's just, the thing is, I don't do Instagram, so, but I know that people were putting it out there though, with the foxes. And then he goes out of his way and talks about this gray fox. I mean, I know one place where I put it, but I can't go there right now. So baby fox, that's a lovely adult gray fox. So that's a gray fox, not a baby. But there's more meaning to this. There's definitely more meaning to this. I know for a fact there's more meaning to this. So he puts out these foxes. Oh my God, really, man? Whoa, Vampirina. Alright, good. Well, I'm just finishing. But, so anyways, he points out there's 3 of them. Baby fox, gray fox, and black fox. There's 3 of them that he points out. And he puts it on his Instagram. And you could just tell there's more to it. And, where did I put that information? I think wait, I know where I put it. Alright, so. So I ended up asking a source about it. And this is the information I got back. So I knew there was more to it. So gray fox was the code name used by the ISA at the beginning of the war in Afghanistan. Its members often work closely with U.S. Special Mission Units and the CIA. Seems to have some type of CIA relevance and U.S. Special Forces. There's been a lot of talk about like U.S. Special Forces when they retire. They end up doing kind of like these like black op type works. A lot of people look at U.S. Navy SEALs and they do, 99% of them extremely high integrity. But there might be a percentage, that go on and, in the private world, get into some black ops, crazy type of stuff. So, I could see it. So, but anyway, so yeah, in Afghanistan, it was a code name used by the ISA at the beginning of the war, and its members often work closely with, like I said, special forces and the CIA. In 2002, Gray Fox fought alongside Delta Force and DevGru in the mountains in Afghanistan. Gray Fox operatives intercepted enemy communications and trekked to observation posts with special operations units. Their efforts may have saved more than 100 10th Mountain Division and 101st Airborne Division soldiers fighting near Takur Gar in Afghanistan's Chahikot Valley during Operation Anaconda. I wonder if that's the one that's like, it's like unbelievable where they put this one base in Afghanistan, surrounded on all sides where the enemy can take the high ground. And of course, they just kept hitting this one base. But I don't think that's it. That's not the name of it. It had a different name. The unit helped spearhead the search for Saddam Hussein and his family after the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. Gray Fox operatives sometimes work under the broader umbrella Joint Special Operations Task Force 20, which also included DevGru, the Army's Delta Force, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. Saddam Hussein was eventually captured during Operation Red Dawn. Under the command of Colonel Michael K. Nagata from 2005 to 2008, Gray Fox continued to operate in Iraq and Afghanistan alongside U.S. Special Operations Forces. To this day, dubious discuss the term Task Force Orange is used by whom when referring to the unit's reinvigorated new role as not just intelligence gathering, analysis, support, etc. for other Tier 1 special mission units, but also as an element capable of doing similar skill set related tasking such as direct action or hostage rescue. It almost seems like for Trump, right? Task Force Orange. It's like, there's always like, they talk about, like the Marines usually, they're kind of like, there's a special thing with the Marines and the president. Well, there's also some special forces who, they particularly do, operations that come straight from the president. Literally, like his own little special operations unit. It seems like that's the case here. And, it makes me think of what comes to my mind right away is one, Venezuela. What was supposed to be a failed coup. I don't know. I've heard it might not have failed so bad, or it might not have, it might be a head fake of sorts. And then also I think of in China. If you guys remember a few weeks ago, I showed you that aircraft carrier that they had just finished building, a brand new super carrier, and it went up in flames, ruined. And so I'm telling you, there's definitely more to this Gray Fox talk. You could just tell. And then at the same time, while Obama was doing like that where he was doing that speech where he had all the shelves behind him, what was on one of the shelves? A Gray Fox. So there's something to this. And that's after Nunez had put out these 3 photos: Black Fox, Gray Fox, Baby Fox. Well, when you're talking about, he would be the chairman if the Republicans held the House. He's the #1 Republican on the Intel Committee. The efforts, we're way past that. On the Joint Special Operations Command edit in 03, why does this keep happening? It's like they don't want me reading this, huh? Was transferred from the Army to Joint Operations, where it was renamed the Mission Support Activity. Since 05 onward, the ISA has not always operated under a 2-worded Special Access Program name, Gray Fox, Central Spike. In 09, the unit was referred to as Intrepid Spear, until this was revealed to have been leaked in an email to the Pentagon. In 2010, it was referred to as the United States Army Studies and Analysis Activity. Sometimes you give it a boring name, and it's almost even more, Gray Fox sticks out more than that. Something boring like that. Elements of the former ISA Assisted Intelligence Collection and Analysis, SIGINT. I know all about that. Never heard of this, though. Operations prior to and during the 2nd of May 2011 U.S. Special Operations Forces mission, which resulted in the death of Osama bin Laden. Elements of DevGru, along with the ISA, members of the CIA Special Activities Division, DIA, and the NSA combined to execute a raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan. That's where they got him. Yeah, where they killed bin Laden. Yeah, and resulted in the death of film. It was an associates, like a wife, some of his sons as well, and associates. So yeah. Let me see if I can find So yeah, I can only find one of those because you know what? I'm not even on. But somebody else had put out this, but I don't think they knew. They just knew there was something to it. They just knew there was something to it. Yeah. Maybe if I put Nunez and then Fox is plural, and then I'll try Obama. But after that, you have to take my word. Or if you have Instagram, you could check it out from there. Yeah, we're just gonna get all this stuff on Fox. So there's that baby Fox. Yeah, he was on Fox. That's what I figured we'd get, a bunch of crap like that. Too bad, cause too bad. And you know what? If I put Obama and Fox, see, stuff like that. It's a smart name, cause you try looking for it, or you look for someone bringing it up. If it's the name of a network, that's all you're gonna get. When I look up Obama, let me see if I get anything. A sexy gray fox. Okay, I guess you get that too. Everyone's just saying just sexy gray fox. Like, what the hell? What is going on? So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the crap we're gonna get with this. Seems like some people might know. It seems, I don't know what these people keep referring to. Alright, so I'm just gonna take a last quick look. My daughter got home. So I wanted to keep this show nice and short anyways. So let me just take one last look here. Check the trending. Hydroxychloroquine trending #1. What did I say? You can literally steer the conversation of not only the media, but social media. It's unbelievable. And that's the first thing that came to my mind when he brought it up. I was like, he's trying to steer the conversation. So I don't know if he's trying to steer it away from something. Usually that would be the case, right? So actor Ken Osmond of Leave It to Beavers died. So yeah, there's nothing else really that big going on. Lupus, that's related to, that's also related to, that's the other thing that it cures besides malaria, the hydroxychloroquine. See, and then malaria is trending. See, he literally, like, steers the conversation. But he seemed almost uneasy because he really, he was almost seemed to be deflecting about these Saudi arms sales. And the Saudis had spent a lot of money. And if you remember the whole thing with Khashoggi, that really, a lot of people didn't want it, didn't want us doing arms sales with the Saudis. And on top of it, what happened at NAS Pensacola, the fact that was a Saudi national that we let, from their military, that we let train at our training station for everything. In the Navy, if you are on an aircraft carrier, you're training at NAS Pensacola. And if you're a crypto, you're training down the street at a different base. But, it's just unbelievable. This guy's kind of smart. You see, he's saying what I just said. Here, I'm taking hydroxychloroquine. Simply means the Pompeo Saudi scandal has some real legs to it. Because he did kind of turn it into something else and then deflected. So, you know, there might be some truth to it. He might have been working on this Saudi arms deals, but then he started talking about walking a dog and dog. That's true, and I noticed it at the time. I mean, I'll call it like I see it, you know. What is this? Deputy campaign manager told Mueller that Trump had a secret meeting at his a week before the election with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and you know what? They protected that Crown Prince, and I think that's when you look into Vegas, that becomes very clear. They got him out of there. You see someone being escorted out. It was him. They protected him. That's when the king died. All the cousins and brothers were all going, all the little different factions were all going after each other for power. And he got power through us. And he owes a lot to us because of that. But yeah, so the Saudi arm deals, just the fact that he's able to steer the conversation, I think makes people look, certain people know enough to look at that. And there was a Saudi, and that's what comes up before that, other than that huge announcement. And I think I told you guys the Apple stock seemed to take a dive today as well. I just want to thank you guys again on PayPal there. That was very nice of you, Sig. So that was very, very nice of you. All right, guys. So thank you. And until next time, Red Pill Dispensary. We'll keep this under 2 hours. That's great. All right, guys. I really appreciate the donation, Sig. And also Tony. I never got to thank Tony. Tony had donated a little bit a week ago, and thank you, Tony. And I want to thank you guys for sticking around, and you know where to come. I'll break it down for you. And anything you guys got, any tips on anything, please send to redpillnews@proton.mail. Same thing if you want to get on the Discord. Just say who you are. All right. Thanks, fellas. Goodbye. And ladies. Have a good night.